everybody. Today I'm going to do a tutorial for a bracelet that's called the square peg. It's kind of a square bangle type bracelet. It has 4 sides to it, like this. This is the center bands. That's the first thing that you do. And then the red bands on this one, that's the second part that you do. And then the white bands on this one are the last step. So there's one. This one is made with the dual layer bands. The red ones and the blue ones are dual layer 600 packs. And this one is made with plain opaque bands. And this one is made with a mixture of limited edition and jelly and silicone and glitter white. That makes it interesting, but it doesn't make it as consistently neat a bracelet. The ones that are made out of the same kind of bands are a little bit neater, I think. So today I'm going to work with LE bands. Now, to make the chain, the first step is to make a single chain for as long as you want the bracelet. And if I were making the bracelet, a whole bracelet, I would do 31 links in a single chain for my wrist. But this is just going to be 10 links for the tutorial, so I'm not going to go through that. But you get it, put your hook through I start off with one of the border bands. On this one, the colored bands are going to run up the center like these blue bands are. And then I'm going to do a white and a gold border, and in here is going to be a dark blue. So I started off with white, which is going to be one of my border bands. Here is the cap band, and did the single chain, and then I stopped and held it together with another border band, which is white. So then the next step is to put your hook through like this, so the cap band sideways, and pull a color that you're going to have on the side, like where the red is on this bracelet, and just pull it through, and then go into the next link in the chain, pull another one through, and go into the next link, and you do this all the way up. It's going to be lots of boring bits in this one because when you're just pulling things through, there's not a lot to talk about. And I don't know any songs that have anything to do with the square peg, so no singing today. I think there was a TV show a long time ago called The Square Peg, or The Square Pegs, with Sarah Jessica Parker, I think. But I don't know the song for that. So we'll just have the making of the bracelet and a lot of silence. Okay. Now when I'm making a full bracelet, I still, I'll have the center chain to be the full 31 links on up. But then when I'm pulling these bands through, I still work with about 10 at a time. And then I finish, and then I move on to the next 10 and move on to the next 10. Just because it's easier, you don't have so many bands hanging there, but that's your preference. Well, now here's where the stick comes in. I'm going to use a swizzle stick or a coffee stir on this one. You can use a barbecue stick skewer like this, or a long crochet hook. But this is a little plastic coffee stir. Actually, it's a tiny little straw, and it's very lightweight and easy to work with. So I put it on one side, and then kind of so when you're working on this side, you don't have a the risk of losing the bands or pulling them all the way through on the other side. So that's what it looks like with the little stick through it. Okay, then you put your hook through the bottom one here, and we're just going to loop these up. Just do the little fishtail loop. Just one through the other. And then when you get to the last one, I'll just take my holding band out of the hook and pull it through. And then put it back on. Now this is if you were making the whole one. If you're just making the part of one, I would just put a plastic clip on that one so you don't have to keep taking the end band off. And then you want to make sure your bands are all straight, especially if you're doing the dual layer or the opaque bands. Make sure they're not twisted, and then you just turn this around, and I'll just take my hook and push this little straw up and grab this one and do the same thing. And on the LE bands, you might not even need the little stick in there because they're pretty thick. But on the other type bands, you do. And it also helps to keep them from twisting if you've got the stick in there to hold them in place. Okay. Okay, so that's the first step. And this is kind of cute all by itself. But this is the top bands, and that's going to be the side bands. Okay, and then the next step is you'll now work on one side, and then you'll work on the other side. So we'll start on one side, and I'm going to use, now we're going to put on the bands that are going to be right here. It's the blue and white ones on this one, and the white ones on that one. So that's the border bands, and I'm going to use white and gold and just alternate. So you start down at the bottom where the cap band is, and basically do the same thing. I'm going to pull, my cap band's white, so I'm going to pull a gold one through first, and then I'll alternate. Just go through here from the side and pull a white one. I don't get mixed up. That would be embarrassing to not be able to remember whether I did a white one or a gold one last. almost did it there. I almost pulled through 2 gold ones without putting a white in between. Okay, now when you're making the real bracelet, when you get to the top or to the end of your long bracelet, this last blue band here on the side, you won't pull a border band through it, so leave that one out. And then we do the same thing. Put a stick through. And this is where, if you're using the other bands, these bands have gone through sideways. So this is where you have to kind of straighten them out and make sure that when you're looping them up, your bands don't twist, because this would be the place where they would be most likely to twist. So you do the same thing, just go in through one and pull them through with the fishtail stitch. Then take this off, pull it through. Put it back on. Okay. Then do the same thing to the other side. And you can be brave and take the stick out and not use it, especially with the LE bands. But with the others, it really does help to have something holding them straight so that they don't twist and the bracelet is neat. Okay. Oops. So that's one side of, that's a side, and this is the one side of the top or the bottom. After you finish making it, you make the top and the bottom part, your bands don't show, and then the top part they do. But you do that adjustment after you've done the other side. So now you do the same thing you did over here on these bands on this side. And I'll probably fast forward or edit this out because it's basically the same thing that you've just done. You want to make sure you match. So see what the first one I pulled through over there was gold, so it'll be gold over here. Or you can not match, however you want your bracelet to look. So this is pretty repetitive, but it doesn't take very many bands. I use 31 to make the chain running up the center, so then you use 31 to make the sideways bands, and then you come up one side with 31 and then come up the other side with 31, or approximately that many depending on the size of your wrist. So it only takes about 125 bands, and it's a very chunky bangle. Gold, white, gold, white, gold, white, gold, white. Yep, I did okay. Okay, now I'm going to put the stick through. And start the looping. So we're on our final side of the square. Just checking to make sure they're not twisted. And we'll loop this up. Okay, so we're at the end, just about to loop up the last one, And at this point, I take the holding band, the one we've been looping everything onto, and I pull it out because I want it to be, I want the holding band to run through and for it to look neater. So I get the white one from one side, have the sides on each side and have the front to the front here, and get a white one, and then the other white one. Pull this up for a second. Okay, then I get the blue one, which is the side. Then I get the two center ones. Then get the blue one. And then get the other two edges. So that when you put the band on through the end, it goes through and it goes through from side to side, and the bands are in order. So you've got the center bands, the side bands, and then the border bands. And then you pull the band through, pull it back through. And the bands don't come apart, they're kind of in there so that you don't lose them when you take that band out. Or I haven't lost them on any of them that I've made so far. So just pull that through and then reconnect it. Why are C-clips always so hard when you're on camera? Any other time they're not. Okay, so that makes a better end. And then you've got your top and bottom, and like this side's a little bit out more, so basically you just take one side of the colored bands and pull them out a little bit. And stretch the bracelet. And this side, the bottom side, kind of goes in. One side will just naturally go in and one side will go out. And you just kind of push them up and get them even, and just so they look nice. And when you get the bracelet totally finished, the long bracelet, it kind of has a tendency to curve a little bit because it's so thick, and the bottom being a little bit tighter and the top having the bands out, it'll curve a little bit, which is good because it's a thick bangle. So, and then you just, of course, clip the two ends together. That's the bottom, the side, and the top. And I hope you enjoy making this, and if you do, tag me on Instagram, Lizzie Looms. And thanks.